One of the simplest and easiest things I do to make it easier to build meals in the week is this, and that is I will chop up a sweet potato really small and then use it in multiple ways. So it can look like a potato hash that I will have with breakfast. It can look like putting it on a salad or in something like a frittata. And doing that makes it so much easier to enjoy food throughout the week than having a predetermined meal that I get tired of by midweek. So I'm going to show you why I do it this way versus having fixed meal or the typical meal you'll find with meal prep. So why don't I always meal prep the traditional way or the typical way? Well, usually when you think of meal prep, you think of you have a fixed idea of what your meal is going to be, or you're thinking of the finished meal ahead of time. And meal prep is great. I don't want you to get it wrong, because it works for when you need it to. So when you don't have the energy to think about prepping food or going to the kitchen to cook, or you might not be in a position to do any kind of cooking, meal prep comes in clutch. But then what happens when it doesn't work? So you get to the middle of the week, where you get to close to the end of the week and you're tired of it. Then you're left with a bunch of food that you're either going to grumble your way through eating or you throw away. So the way I look at it is, or the way I approach it is, I know that there are some ingredients that I use on a regular basis or eat on a regular basis. So what I do is do things like this, which is chop it up and make it easier to use throughout the week versus locking myself into having it only one particular way. Why do I chop it up the way I do? I chop it up very small, first of all. It cooks very quickly, and this makes it easier to use in any kind of meal. So whether I fry it up, it's going to fry up quickly. Whether I use it in a frittata, it's going to fry up quickly. Whether I use it in a salad, it's still going to cook pretty quickly. It's the one ingredient that I can use in multiple ways. Or the question I have started asking when I am prepping food is, rather than what meals am I eating in the week, I will ask or look at what things or components can I have that makes it easier to build meals throughout the week, regardless of the situation. So whether I'm tired, whether I'm low in capacity, whether I have low energy, whether I'm busy, what ingredients make it easier to build a meal. And so it is the reminder that meal prep is kind of based on a prediction. You're predicting on Sunday that you are going to have the same appetite on Thursday. You're predicting you're going to have the same energy on Thursday. That is the premise on meal prep for creating fixed meal. Whereas with meal building, you are more or less reducing the friction between taking your ingredients or having your ingredients and then eating them. So sweet potato chopping, or sweet potato in its raw form, I will buy sweet potato and have it sitting on the counter for weeks, because just the idea of chopping it up in any given time, every time I want to go and make a meal, that's a barrier. So by doing it this way, just taking some time and chopping it up really finely and putting it in a container, I can now use it however I want on the spot, or I can decide right now that I'm going to use it, which makes it easier to access, easier to use. And so here the sweet potato is still just an ingredient. So I can go in any direction with it, not locking yourself into one single use. And this is the flexibility of doing something like this, because I can do breakfast. Like I said, breakfast hash can come out of this. I can take it and add it to a salad. I can make the frittata, which is what is being made here in this video. So the prep is already done. That's the main thing. And I go in different directions with it. the sweet potato, it's becoming part of the meal in this video. I am putting it with eggs for breakfast, and if you've watched any of my previous videos, what this is illustrating is that the potatoes here are the anchor. Unlike typically, I talk about something like the protein being the anchor, the potatoes here are the anchor because it's a thing that I'm building the rest of this meal around. And this is a one-pot meal, which makes it a lot easier to do. So I'm not doing multiple things at the same time. So at first, I am prepping, I prepped the potatoes that's already prepped. I had the potatoes already prepped. Now I'm sauteing it and then cooking it so it cooks quickly, so it's soft. And then to it, I'm going to add whatever veggies I might have. And I'm going to add the protein. Now, remember, the anchor is the sweet potato. And then I'm adding components or supportive ingredients. And here, that would be both the veggies as well as the eggs, in addition to the oil that's used to cook the potatoes in. And then the things like the cheese that will add a little extra flavor to it. So building this meal, starting with the anchor, adding the components, and then what's bringing it together is also the eggs. So the eggs are both protein and the thing that's bringing it together. The potato is the anchor, and it's also the thing that provides substance. And bringing it together is taking it from the stove top into the oven, and you have a complete balanced meal here. You've got your protein with your eggs. You can add some additional meat to that to boost the protein. You've got the vegetables. We've got the carbs from the potatoes. Then we have the cheese on top for a little extra yum. That's a balanced meal right there. There's a distinction that I want to make between meal prep and meal building. With meal prep, you are prepping a meal. With meal building, you are preparing components for a meal. What that meal is left up to you to decide when. Versus with meal prep, you've already decided on what that meal is going to be ahead of time. And so you're preparing it ahead of time. Because what that means is with preparing a meal, you have decided already what it is. And then you are going to cook it, and then you're going to portion it, and then you're going to reheat it. So that's the transformation that happens when you meal prep. When you're building a meal, what happens is you prepare the components, then you cook it, then you build. See the difference? One where the decision comes at the start, the other one where the decision comes at the end. And both have their place. It's not that one is better than the other. It's that they serve you at different times. They offer you different benefits. And it's important for you to know the difference between the two so that you can utilize them. So this is not me saying to abandon meal prep. This is me saying to expand what you think it has to look like or how you go about preparing your meals. Because for some, meal prep works when you need it to work. But then when it doesn't work, what are you left with? Some food that's going to stay until it's spoiled in your fridge, which we don't want, right? So this is what happens when you look at or when you expand your view of what meal prep has to look like. How do you do this yourself? Don't have to use sweet potatoes. I could have used an entirely different ingredient. You could use something else. Let's say turkey, ground turkey, as an example. It's something you eat often, and you know that when you prep ground turkey, after the second time of reheating, that's it. No, you want something else. So here's your approach, or this is what your approach can look like. You prep it in a way so that you can use it in multiple ways. So that can look like prepping it to be patties as well as meatballs. You flash freeze them and then you portion them out or package them in a way that allows you to retrieve it easily from the freezer. So you put it in the freezer in Ziploc bags or whatever storage method you use so that when you're ready to use them, it's available. You take that turkey and make a meal out of it some other way. So the burger, that's one option. You could also just grill the burger patties, slice it up, and use that in a salad. You could then use the meatballs as the way you normally would use meatballs, either in some kind of sauce with spaghetti or with some vegetables and had with some rice or some potatoes. The possibilities are endless. So apply the same framework. Pick the ingredient that you have, or take stock of the ingredients that you have. Choose the one that you use often. Prep it such that it is usable in a few ways, and then have it available versus assigning it to a meal. So it's in the freezer, for example, ready for you to use when you need to use it, and then you build your meals when you need to use it. I made the sweet potato easier to use by preparing it this way. You would make the ground turkey easier to use and therefore eat by doing this. Today, with the sweet potato, it's the frittata. Tomorrow, it's a hash that goes with breakfast, or it's added to my daily salad. But you see how we build from prepped ingredients versus being stuck with a meal, a fixed meal. So the next time you think about meal prep, think about how you can make it easier to build meals throughout the week so that you're not tired of the meals you're eating. So you can do a combination of meal prep with fixed meals and prepped ingredients to be used to build meals. It all depends on your schedule. It all depends on the effort that you want to put into it. It all depends on whether or not you even really want to do it, because that's a reality. You might not want to do one or the other, so choose the one that works the best for you. But I'm just putting forward the case of doing something like this, which is prepping the ingredients to make meal building easier throughout the week. Yeah, give it a try. Come back and let me know how it works out for you.